here with Baraka. I'm not sure if I'm actually pronouncing it right. Where does that stem from? Is that, an artist name? Is that a surname?
Baraka is a word. It's an
Hmm.
Arabic word. It's also a Swahili word. Baraka is also a Mortal Kombat character. It is also sounds similar to like Barack Obama. So people always go there. So it means it's kind of like a concept. I mean, I don't want to, this is just my interpretation of it and what I've come across in my own understanding and learnings. I'm not by any means Arabic or speak Arabic or anything like that. So I might butcher it, but this is just for me what I took from it. It's sort of like the blessing of God, but the quality that causes things to transform and to multiply.
Mm.
So people from different cultures, they will like, if there's food left over, they call that leftover food after they eat baraka. So it's a blessing from God. And it's also what is believed to cause cells to divide and become two cells, growth on a biological level. It's one of those base things in life, like getting down to the core of life at its very core, to multiply, for one to become two, for blessing, and I chose the name because I was already DJing. I didn't really have a name. I was just DJing out here, and people would be like, "What's your DJ name?" Someone came up to me, and she was like, "I didn't know her," and it was actually probably just like my third time playing for people. And she came up to me and she's like, "Thank you so much. I didn't realize it, but your set is exactly what I needed. It healed me in a way I didn't even think I needed. I just danced and I felt free." And I was like, "Yo, okay, that's the sign for me. That's the feeling that I have when I'm busy playing. And that's what I would really love for people to have that type
Mm.
of experience, and for me to have an intention when I play, because I believe in that stuff." So yeah, and I mean, I'm not always that deep, but I like what it represents.
It really is different. I think it sets you apart. There is no other Baraka, that's a DJ and doing what you're doing. So I reckon it's working, and obviously with even with this chat, that we're having now, I just want to touch on something that you mentioned when you said you enjoy going to the firehouse because when you went there last time or whenever you're there, you don't feel, you feel normal. You don't feel like you're there because you're a woman type thing. And you said, you don't feel like you need to go in depth, when it comes to that there. So, what can you sort of give me a little more insight on that in terms of, is this attached to maybe a certain experience, being a female DJ, maybe something that has happened in the past, maybe that made you feel uncomfortable in any way? And if there is something or some sort of experience like that, how did you manage to sort of work your way around that? If you did, even just for anyone who's a young female aspiring DJ and wants to sort of, or could encounter any issues and stuff, just for them to basically find out how, the various ways in which you can work around these things.
Yeah, as a female DJ, I would say that a lot of the time you are booked because you're female and not because of your craft and what you're about, the music you play and the sets, the vibe that they're looking for the evening. It's kind of just, to tick a box in a way. Um, it's just one of those things that you kind of have to accept, that I feel that I have to accept going into certain spaces and events, because I just feel like it's too much work to try and like undo all those things. Um, I just accept it for what it is and take with it the knowledge that there are people out there that know who I am and that know what I'm about and don't really, I'm talking about events and organizers, and don't really put it up to that. And it's a bit of a funny joke that I have with myself. I mean, COVID times aside, but Women's Month is always like popping for female DJs. So it's kind of funny to see it unfold when it does. And it's just, I guess, one of those things. Another side of things is also just the perception that you kind of don't really have an interest in the technical aspects of DJing and mixing, or that you don't really know what you're doing. You know, like you can't handle yourself in front of the equipment, or that you're not really interested in trying to understand or learning beyond the basics that will just get, you know, music out there. And that's something that's, I don't know where it comes from and why these guys have this idea sometimes. I don't know where it's coming from, but people do have that. And it gives me a great satisfaction when I can prove, and just not even trying to prove, but maybe a situation will arise where people behind the booth can actually see, oh, okay, like, oh, okay, you know what you're doing. And then all of a sudden the tension's gone. I feel like I don't have anything to prove. They're not like secretly testing me and like all these things. I find that an interesting dynamic, you know, and I think, I don't know what the solution is. I would say maybe as more female DJs get given gigs and they get exposed a little bit more, and I mean male DJs get exposed to female DJs a little bit more, it becomes less of a stigma. I don't know if stigma is the right word, a misconception, but that is basically what I was referring to. They just see the female part.
Yeah, and that's a very interesting point actually, because even if you look at, you know, people that are DJs, you know, in South Africa, you'll find that the majority of, you know, at least in the mainstream, you know, majority of them are males. So what made you decide to be like, I want to sort of jump into this profession that is very male dominated and basically just take that on?
It's just something that I've found along the way, but it's not something that I saw as a gap and that I should take it up at all. It wasn't like that. I had the opportunity to learn how to mix when some friends of mine were learning and kind of started playing and things. It was a group called Good Vibes and Music. It was a while back now. I can't remember exactly. 2017, 2018, around there. And yeah, so I was like, hey, wait, you guys are all meeting up and you're teaching and learning how to play. You're having these DJ parties or you're learning how to play. Can I come? And they're like, yeah, come. I'm like, great. So I can just bring my USB with some music. And that's how I started learning. So it came about from just the interest. I like learning in general, obviously like music. And I am a creative sort of person. I have a few skills within like the arts, and my job is I'm a graphic designer. So I am, even by the work that I do and what I studied, is still in the creative field. So with all those things combined, it was very natural. And yeah, I just like the skill. I like learning, and I like the feeling of being able to mix and trying out, like having ideas around music and just being creative with the art. Another thing that also is, my father is a DJ, and I grew up going with him. This is like seriously back in the day, going with him. He would go to the club in the afternoons and go and test out his sets. I mean, it was vinyl back then, and he would switch on the like disco ball for me, and I would run around and chase the lights, you know. This was my earliest memory. And I was a little baby, not even a year old, sleeping in the manager's office while my father was playing his sets in the club. Like, that's my background. So I grew up around music. And when I was very young, my father taught me how to beat match, which is like a foundation of DJing. And to be honest, you don't actually need that skill to beat match by ear, that is, anymore, because you can just do it digitally. You can read. It can actually give you a reading, and then you know exactly what's happening without listening. So I had that skill from a while ago, obviously learned it and just forgot about it. And then when the Good Vibes and Music came about, I learned truly how to DJ properly, like with a controller, with the USB, with computer program, and then progressed from there.
So many amazing points that you touched on there, you know. One of them being COVID times. You know, you also touched on Good Vibes and music, the group, and obviously being a graphic designer, your dad being a DJ. There's just
Yes.
so much, like, wow, I'm actually super grateful that we're actually having this conversation. I'm just wanting to get that out of the way firstly. But like, if you had to honestly pick, because, you know, being a graphic designer is your profession, you said you studied, if you had to pick, guns to your head, you had to pick between being a graphic designer and being a DJ, which would you pick, and sort of why that particular one?
Not even gun to my head. If I had the opportunity to be a DJ and pay my bills from DJing, I would be a DJ 100%. I mean, I say that because maybe, the grass is always greener on the other side or whatever. But yeah, if I had the opportunity to be a DJ and do it every day, I definitely would. That is something that I love that much. The graphic design could be on the side and the DJ could be weighted up. I would have it that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
would you say there are any similarities between the two at all? Obviously, they're very different. Well, I guess they are different. As being a graphic designer, you're a graphic designer, then a DJ, you're out there entertaining people. But are there any similarities that you might have picked up between the two as someone who actually does both?
The only thing I can really think of that's similar is kind of the practicing aspect of it and the exploratory aspect of it. So like finding a bunch of songs and seeing if it works, mixing, trying out the different effects, playing around, and then also keep at it and becoming better. I would say that's kind of the only similarities I see between graphic design and DJing as two crafts to learn. The more you do it, the better you get, and that applies to, I suppose, a lot of different things. But then when it comes to your creativity as a designer, if you can play around with a whole lot of different options, it gives you a wider foundation for your design, and you can have a stronger design because you've gone through a other process. And the same can apply with DJing. You can come across gems of transitions and like really cool effects that work for this part of the song and things like that when you do allow yourself to play. And explore and be curious about things. I wonder what will happen if I do this, and then see, and then, okay, that was whack. Let me try this way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously, considering the times that we're living in, you also name dropped COVID there, COVID times. For you, being a DJ that had been going, before COVID and have been going also then during COVID and stuff, how has COVID sort of affected you when we're looking at you being a DJ? Obviously there must be a lack of gigs, but I mean, just behind even your mindset as a DJ, has anything changed in terms of the way that you have to think, or just anything, pertaining you being a DJ and any difference there might be, pre-COVID and post-COVID as well?
I mean, pre-COVID, it wasn't even a thing. I mean, for me, it was just have a good time, woohoo type of a thing. But with COVID now, it just gave a whole new layer of responsibility for helping to keep people socially distant, being a little bit decisive, making choices not to accept gigs when, even though things were opening up, I would feel on some level that I don't want to, I want to see the curve continue going down. I don't want to contribute to people mixing and things spreading. And that's just me on a personal level. It's not something that I wish other people would have or anything to that degree at all. It's just the feelings that I would have and my own thoughts around it, and my own anxieties around someone potentially getting it and getting it bad, any repercussions that just didn't sit right with me. So I took I took my own measures towards it, was to distance myself, isolate, working from home. I don't go out that much at all. This is when COVID started. I was having these types of thoughts and I was doing those types of things, I must say, like a year and a bit on. I have found my way around it. I'm less anxious about it and a little bit more risk-taking. I don't know if it's risk-taking or just coming to understand how COVID works, and more people are vaccinated now and things like that. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but I definitely did pull back. I stopped accepting gigs. I had to make it okay in my head somehow with that fight that I was having, that internal fight of like, I don't want to contribute to people spreading this disease, and creating the waves and putting a strain on the health systems and all of that. I did fight that initially a lot.
And a really like a key word that you mentioned there is the vaccine. What is Baraka's view on the vaccine? Because you got a lot of people who are currently on the fence right now. They're just unsure if they should, get vaccinated, and then you get people that are like, hey, we should do this. We should do it for humanity. So for Baraka, which side of the fence is she on, and why?
So I am going to get vaccinated. I believe that, yes, it's your own body and everything. So I'm not saying you should go and do it if you really don't want to. But what I would say to people is consider it, because the real danger for me, look, I'm not a scientist or a doctor, but from what I understand, the real danger is every time it spreads, it gives it more opportunities to mutate and change its DNA. That's how we ended up with the Delta variant. After the vaccines were already made and things like that, so they're not as effective against the Delta variant. If not enough people get the vaccine, we are just creating more of an opportunity for the virus to spread into a mutated form that the vaccines potentially cannot work against at all, and they're rendered useless. So while we have this opportunity where we have a vaccine and we don't have a crazy variant yet, I know things are crazy, and how crazy can it get? We don't know. So my stance is, let's try and get the majority of people vaccinated. And if you are on the fence, consider getting vaccinated. Truly do. Look into it, do what it takes, and be on the side of optimism about it, because I believe that the real danger lies in allowing the virus to replicate into a form that we can't really deal with, something that spreads easily and is also deadly. We really don't need that. So yeah, that's my take on it. What's your take on it?
Yo, I'm still one of those people that's just unsure at this moment, eh? But I had a chat this morning. We had an interview with Tekla from Tex in the City, and she's basically on the same boat as you. So I'm honestly just looking at it like, if the likes of you, isn't really skeptical, why am I being skeptical type thing. So I think I may as well do it for humanity as well and play my part. So I'm pretty much swaying more towards getting it done at this moment.
It is a little bit scary, the unknown. We don't really know what will happen and all of those
Yeah,
things. But when I go and I learn about things like the Black Plague and stuff, I rather take my
be
odds with the
safe.
Swan Riders right now. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that is true. Speaking of plagues, this is we almost at the end. Speaking of plagues, we've had a lot of artists, that have come through, and have basically mentioned things like, well, in particular Durban artists, you'll find, like I had a chat with Holly Ray a little over a year ago, and one of the things that she brought up was the fact that, Durban, in her words, Durban is a very clicky, environment. And if you are an artist or someone who is in the entertainment industry, whether it be a musician, a DJ, a producer, you should try steer clear, or still, or basically remove yourself from, scenarios or situations that, would probably promote the whole click, sort of mentality and stuff. So, from your personal experience as Baraka, and the things that you've seen, being a DJ, would you sort of echo the same sentiments? Is Durban, like, as clicky as people make it out to be? And how do you sort of maneuver around those sort of channels, as a creative, basically?
Durban, I think, can be clicky. I've been fortunate, where I haven't really pursued what DJing in this instance as something that I want to really pursue hard. I've been fortunate in the sense that I have opportunities have arisen as they did, naturally, and I was playing at the right gig and the right person heard me, and that type of thing. So I don't have experience that I can draw from where I can speak on the matter in a way where I can tell you, like, look, I tried and then this happened to me and that happened to me, and that type of thing. So I can't really say for sure if what would happen if yes, Durban is cliquey? Does that mean that they don't let you into spaces? You know, what is the deal? I will say that from what I have experienced, there is certain, maybe, I don't know if I can call it the club scene, but the club scene in itself is cliquey. You know, you go to one club and there'll be this type of crowd. You go to a different club on that same night, go to a different club, and you'll see a completely different set of people that, you know, those people will not know the other people. And Durban in itself can be cliquey like that.
And in the same lights as well, do you think maybe enough is being done in Durban to sort of nurture young women or women who are wanting to get into DJing? You know, is enough, would you say there's enough, you know, resources or things that are being done within Durban to sort of support and, you know, push forward, you know, women, you know, being DJs? Maybe even in South Africa as a whole, but let's start with like Durban.
My initial thought is no, but I may be completely ignorant on the matter. But as far as I know, accessibility is a huge issue. Um, Not even with women, you know, like accessibility is an issue. If I look at the equipment being or rather the funds to have the equipment to play and things like that. I mean, I learned with the good vibes and music that's no longer. That was a time and space that was facilitated for and things, and the people in the group made it happen, you know. And then looking to how I learned to play in CDJs and those opportunities to play in the club formats was Pussy Party in Joburg, you know. They are a collective based in Joburg, but have toured Durban and Cape Town. They have hosted workshops here in Durban and Cape Town and Joburg where they teach women and trans folk to DJ, how to DJ on CDJs, the basics, right through to being prepared for your first sets. And there isn't anything like that in Durban that I know of. Anything that I've heard of in Durban has been through them organizing, you know. But that's just what I know. I don't know. I'm not quite out there and the most out there person on the scene, I will say that. Maybe there are other academies and other places that are offering free workshops. But that was literally the only two sort of learning channels that I've been exposed to. And like I said, the one doesn't really exist anymore, and the other is Joburg based. So yeah, I'd say Durban is lacking. What are your thoughts on this type of issue? Do you think it's something that you can see coming about? Do you think that there is a gap in the music industry in general?
Like I don't really know much like when it comes to the DJing scene. Like literally, I think on the show we've the only other DJ that we've had was DJ Zeta. Funny enough, it seems like there is a lack of um pull or is a lack of, you know, promo when it comes to, you know, female DJs, because I feel like if there was something that was being done about it, there'd be a lot more women DJs, because then a lot of the young, you know, ladies that are growing up would look or would have, you know, so many like female DJs they could look up to and be like, hey, you know, I aspire to be like Baraka, I aspire to be like DJ Zito or something. And then, you know, more females would sort of then be on the rise like that there. But I do feel like, you know, as much as female DJs are in the minority, you do have in the mainstream people like I think DJ Zinhle, who's got like an academy or something like that that caters to women. So I think you do get, you know, other women as well who, you know, feel some type of way about the situation and are trying to sort of change and flip the narrative, which
Mm,
is something that's good. But I do feel like it's not enough. You know, it's something that needs a lot more people to sort of be involved, including males as well. Like they should also have a helping hand, considering that they're in the majority. So I really don't think, to answer your question, I don't think enough is being done, you know, to nurture, you know, upcoming female DJ talent in the country as a whole, not just Durban, but that's just from a layman's sort of perspective.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's only so much, you know, people can do. We can only just hope that things get better in the long run. Final question on my end. As I said, like I don't really prepare stuff, but I saw on your Instagram back in 2018, you know, you were part of the Zakifo fest, and there were some really powerful names that you know you got a chance to play alongside. I saw like the Nasty C, DJ Lag, you know,
Yeah.
by Star, who's I'm a huge fan of on my end. Um, that's a really powerful lineup, Baraka. So how was it sort of, you know, being invited to that and getting to play that set, you know, amongst other heavyweights, you know, such as yourself as well?
It was amazing. It was a little bit crazy, to be honest. It was my first time in that type of environment, being at a festival, being an artist at a festival, and I loved the experience. I was super grateful to be invited, and it was amazing to just be, you know, one of the artists on the bill that night. Like I felt a little bit of imposter syndrome. Like, what, me truly? What am I even doing here? Like, it was truly amazing, and it really made me feel just being around those names and the people that take their craft so seriously, and the passion. I know I once the personally, and it was great having that experience with him as well, being on the same bill in the same evening.
Would you say that was like the highlight, you know, of your DJing career, or would you say is there another gig that has actually happened after that that was like, you know what, this takes the cake?
So I also randomly played at Afropunk in 2019. It was extremely random.
Damn.
So I played on the Pussy Party stage. Am I allowed to even say P Party? P Party.
Go for it, fam. It's a podcast. We say whatever the hell you want.
So yes, so I was invited to play as one of the DJs on the Pussy Party stage. It was a really cool experience because I was obviously Joburg, so it was nice to play to a Joburg crowd and like have them, you know, really love the music, enjoy themselves, fill up the floor. It was a great experience. It was truly something that just happened, and I make it sound like I got there and then on the day they were like, yo, do you want to like jump on in an hour? It wasn't quite like that, but it was definitely, it wasn't like I was on the bill and Afropunk was pushing it on my behalf. No, it was a Pussy Party stage that I was part of, if you understand what I'm saying. So it wasn't a lot of marketing leading up to the event personally as Baraka. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I felt like, you know, positive for the future. Some talks about having a bit of a tour, a bit more gigs in Joburg and a bit more in Cape Town, and well, not a bit more in Cape Town for the first time. You know, I really felt woohoo 2020, and everyone was like 2020 vision, woo. And kablam. Good luck to you, find another hobby, enjoy yourself. So yeah, it was, I would say those two were definitely the highlights. And there's been some other events that I've played at that have really been good. You know, I've also played at Something African, so while it may not be like this huge stage that people know the name and, you know, you can throw your weight around with that, but Something African was a really cool concept that I enjoy being part of in Glenwood. Good vibes, 100% good vibes. So yeah, I would say I would also count those experiences playing for Something African as also something that I look back on, and I'm happy to have been part of that too.
I really feel like I could literally have a conversation with you for the whole night, but obviously, you know, life has to continue and all that. But I just really just can't thank you enough for allowing me to have this chat with you. For anyone who maybe would want to get in touch with you for work or reach out to you, social media and whatnot, you know, where can we sort of find you?
Cool. So you can call me on 084. I'm joking. So at Baraka Babs, Baraka underscore BABS. You can catch me there. I'm most likely to respond there.
All right, sweet. No, that is super dope. Yeah, and in case you listen to this episode, we are at Sludge Underground on every platform except Twitter. We are at Sludge031, and check the episodes out: SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Sludge Underground Podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Until next time, it is bye for now.